Hi everybody and welcome to Unit 6. I hope you are excited that we are almost finished with the course, but I truly hope you enjoyed this course. I remember when I was going through my undergraduate work, I really surprisingly enjoyed courses about organizational development, and it changed my path in my master's and my doctorate degree to really focus on this area. I do want to take just a few moments to remind you about due dates this week. Please remember that your initial post to the discussion board is due on Tuesday instead of Thursday this week, and your 2 follow-up posts are due by Thursday. Also, don't forget that you have your final exam due this week. It does have to be completed by Thursday, and if you have any late work at all, go ahead and turn it in. I know it is 10% off for each week that it's late, but some points are better than none, especially if you're on the cusp of moving up to a different letter grade. You cannot turn work in after the course is finished. It is a school policy unless you have an incomplete, and that has to be approved through the school. So just keep that in mind, okay? Try not to take your test at the last minute just in case you have technical issues, and then you won't be able to take it. So let's talk just a little bit about organizational development again, and I want to talk to you about the future of OD because I think it's extremely important as you market yourself as an HR OD professional, that you not just understand the best practices of what is happening today, but your future thinking. And you can talk to your employer about not just what needs to happen today, but also what needs to happen in the future. Remember, a couple of units ago, we talked about gap analysis and being able to take the strategic plan and understand the KSAs required for meeting that strategic plan, and do a gap analysis based on the skills that you have today compared to what you will need, and then setting up a plan to close that gap. It's the same type of process, and I want you to be familiar with these things so that when you're selling yourself to your future employers, you understand the lingo and can talk about how you can bring efficiencies to the business. So speaking of efficiencies, one of the future trends in OD is that Six Sigma is going to be important for HR and OD professionals. If you're familiar with Lean Six Sigma, you know that it's a tool that organizations use to increase productivity, and they do that by trying to take out the non-value added steps out of processes. So lowering travel time, taking out steps out of the process, because of course increasing or decreasing the time it takes to process a product or move a product from one part of the warehouse to another is actually money spent. And so when you lower those, you increase your efficiencies and you increase your productivity. So what's going to be happening is that HR is going to be expected to understand Lean Six Sigma and how to apply those processes to the people and to the jobs. And it's one of the most valuable tools I think that you can put in your tool belt. I am Lean Six Sigma certified, and I've been since about 2008. And when I have that on my resume, many employers look at me and say, wow, that's not typically something we see for HR professionals. So look into it and see if it'd be something that you'd be interested in. I think it's an absolute wonderful tool, and you can often recoup your salary by using some of the Lean Six Sigma tools and saving in productivity. Another future trend is going to be in employee engagement. And we talk about employee engagement now, and I think organizations are focused on employee engagement now, but how the trend is going to change is that we're going to have to get better at understanding how to qualitatively and quantitatively measure employee engagement and then correlate those measures to the outcomes of the business. So what I mean by that is understanding if there's higher levels of turnover and there's higher levels of absenteeism, FMLA usage, for instance, that we want to be able to see if there's a correlation between those costs to the business and engagement. So we have to be able to craft questions that will really drive us to understand what we're doing poorly that's encouraging employees to disengage. And then being able to tell that story to executives. Another trend is going to be team building and effectiveness. And I think what's going to happen here is that HR and OD professionals are going to have to go in and do interventions within teams. But the skill that we're going to have is to really be able to kind of do that root cause analysis, or peel back the onion, if you will, to truly figure out why teams are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or why they're not as good as they possibly could be, and then recommending training and mentoring to improve the efficiencies of teams. What's going to really change in the future is trying to do that with virtual teams, because virtual teams will become more and more commonplace in the organization. I truly enjoy having each of you in class, and I hope you'll add me on LinkedIn. I'd like to follow you as you progress in your career and you progress in your college. If you need anything from me, don't worry about reaching out even after you leave the class. LinkedIn's a great way to get a hold of me. I wish you the best on your final and the best in your future. See you on the discussion boards.